All right, we are back for part 3 in the series. Um, like we were saying, the first couple, we did a trade deadline one and a sticky substances one. Now we're going to talk about just the second half outlook, and quickly we'll look in the first half as well because the All-Star game just happened, and it's usually around the midpoint. But we're going to hop straight into just looking at the standings and kind of seeing who's where and how everybody's doing. Trade deadline is still on us right now, obviously, and just looking at the potential teams. Um, just to start off quickly, because I forgot to mention this, we were just talking about this in between videos of the Kendall Graveman trade. Wanted to mention that in there, just because of the fact that Houston just got a free reliever of the year candidate for almost nothing. There did have a breakout candidate potential player that got in return. That was his name, like Otoro or something.
Yeah, Abraham Otoro. Yeah.
Otoro, yes. And he's been good for Seattle for a couple games, but just felt like a very weird trade. And Seattle, what was the Seattle players were pissed, right? Something like
Yeah.
that. That trade even
Crying in
went
the
through.
locker room.
Yeah. So that seems like a good second half outlook of let's trade away a locker room leader. You know, I just realized too, they're
For division
55 and
rival.
48, but they're a minus 58 in run
Yeah,
differential. That
I
just
noticed that. Oh.
that's a lot of that's just weird.
That's like the Marlins. They have like the best run differential and they're in last. Well,
Yeah,
I don't know if it's like that.
they're
Yeah.
+4.
Yeah. It's baffling at Philly. Minus 24. Like, I don't know. Well,
Yeah,
that just shows their pitching is insane. So
yeah, very odd. But yeah, I mean these top three, for playoffs and how it's going, I expect these top three to basically be the same. You know,
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Boston and Tampa Bay could flip flop because they're kind of close in the standings, but Boston has had a stronghold for a good amount for the last 2 months over Tampa. Um, I mean Houston over Oakland, that it's a big difference. That's 6 games you got to make up, and then Houston's very good. So, and then Chicago. I mean, does
Run
no one
away
really?
with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Cleveland.
gonna get
Yeah.
that. They're gonna get that little 3 seed
With
probably.
with ease. Yeah.
So, but now this gets interesting because Tampa Bay. I mean, we'll exclude Tampa Bay out of it because Tampa Bay is gonna get a wild card or the AL East. I think that's pretty much a given
It's
because
guaranteed.
the 3.5 up on the second wild card and then 5.5 up on Seattle right now. So
Mm-hmm.
they're in good shape. But now you look at the second wild card. And, off the top of my head, I don't know, strength of schedule for second halves and stuff like that. If anybody has that, you can comment below your answer and all that stuff. But for what it's worth, the Yankees could bolster even more the next couple days. But getting Gallo is going to help. But is it going to push them over Oakland? And the same thing with Toronto, where Toronto is kind of at the point where they're almost 500, but they're still not out of it. And their relief pitching has been atrocious this year. Their starters behind Robbie Ray and maybe Alex Manoah hasn't really been good either. So very interesting. And then Cleveland's not in a good position either, and they're only 5 out. Angels have missed Trout for a while, and who knows if he's even coming back at this point because I think he's just got the injury bug in his career right now.
And you would imagine if he was playing, they'd be pretty close. Like,
Yeah,
especially with the Otani boom, and they'd be close.
Angels, I bet, with Trout are probably in Seattle's position right now, around the
Yeah.
55 and 48. Because I bet there's definitely been some one-run games that they lost where in the last 2 months they haven't had Trout. So, I mean, AL is kind of a lot of these top 4 are given, but this second wild card spot is something to look out for because there's legitimately, if Trout can come back soon, I'd say we could put the Angels in there, but
Give him a shot. Yeah.
between Toronto, New York, Seattle, and Oakland all getting, making some potential moves at the deadline to do something, that's gonna be a big spot to look at too. But the big thing is with the Yankees are, they're in 2 game win streak right now. Are they going to be able to hold some sort of consistency because it seems like they go on a little bit of roll and then they either face Boston and gets screwed up, or they have a random series and it's just like a brain fart. You're really confused on why they lost 3 out of 4 to Minnesota for some
Yeah.
reason. What do you think? Do you think Angels have like a real shot here, or do you think it's just like Yankees, Seattle, Oakland kind of?
So I think for the divisions, I agree with you there. I think it's pretty set. Again, I think Tampa and Boston could swap. I think they only play each other like a couple more times. I know they play each other this weekend. I think there's maybe one more series, I think, in Boston. I think the next week after that. Um, then maybe one more. But division I agree with right now. I think that's pretty set. Houston, they'll win it with ease. Chicago win it with ease. The wild card, I think Tampa, they did go out and get Cruz, so I think they're pretty set now. Their DH play, I believe, was like bottom 5 in the league, so that's gonna help them a ton. And for the second spot, I think New York is gonna slip in there somehow. I just think the team is far too talented not to make the playoffs, and they got
Yeah.
Gallo 2 hours ago, and everyone can say he strikes out a lot. He doesn't hit for average, but he has a 370 on base percentage and walks are hits. So I I think it's a great ad, and who knows, maybe they'll add Story in the next few days. Maybe they'll just say let's unload everything and just go for it this year. And I think they could easily do that. I think Seattle will probably fall off a little bit. Still, I think they're about to lose a series to Houston. Um, and Oakland, I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of Oakland.
They're
Run
always there.
differentials, they're always there. They're always lurking. Run differential's pretty good. They always manage to win games. But yeah, I think the Yankees have a far too talented roster just to miss it. I'd be surprised if they do. I mean, look, only 2.5 out. I think that's very easy to make up.
Yeah.
They're about to sweep. They're about to sweep the Rays. They won previous two. They got Cole tomorrow. They'll probably win that. Knock on wood. And we need the help, of course, for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Need Tampa to lose, so they're about to drop 4 straight, and then
Yeah.
we play them this weekend. So I think it'd be, but yeah,
That'd be a nice little
we'll lead there.
clean up
Yeah.
in the standings. Now,
Exactly.
this is where there's a cluster. And it seems like if I've been doing this podcast for 5 years, I bet for the previous 5 years, I'd probably say this as well. The National League is always a cluster. There's always one division that has a million playoff teams, and it's usually either the NL West or NL Central. It's always one of those two teams, the divisions that always have like 3 or 4 playoff teams for whatever reason. So not one of these teams, other than maybe Milwaukee, have an easy route of winning the division. Because after Milwaukee, there's really, no one down here that's, behind them. But San Francisco is what it looks like 3.5 games. No, 3 games up on the Dodgers, and then Padres. You could probably count them out of winning that division. They're a little far behind right now. I think they're 4.5, 5.5 games out. But this is where it gets interesting. So, minus these wild card teams, nobody's catching up with the wild card that you see down here. But interestingly, you see Philadelphia, who's 50-50, and they're only 4 games back of the Mets, who could easily win their division. So, but the thing is like San Francisco's been good all year to the point now. It's been 100 games now. You're more than halfway into the season. This isn't a Cinderella story anymore. This is like they're legitimately good.
They're good.
Milwaukee just got Escobar. They got much better. They're legitimately good. The Mets have dealt with a lot of injuries, but I think you could put them in a legitimately good category as well. If they can maintain some health and then maybe get that Chris Bryant addition or someone like that at the deadline, like they're probably put in that same category as well. But now this is interesting because do we really want to see the Dodgers and Padres face each other in the wild card? Like,
It'd be epic, but I'd like a longer series. I mean,
yeah, like we would love to see
who
a
doesn't
5 game
want that?
series, 7 game
Yeah,
series at least.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. San Francisco, they're real. I mean, look at their home and away record. They're insane at home. They're also so good on the road. Look at San Diego on the road, 25-25. They're winning all their games at home. I think, like you said, they're pretty far out from the divisional title now. I think Dodgers still have a chance to win it. I still think they will. Honestly, the Dodgers, they're just really beat up right now. Bellinger is just not playing well. Seager's not. I think Seager comes back like next week or something.
Yeah.
And losing Bauer, that's the whole different story. You're losing an ace, $40 million guy.
Yeah.
That's why I think Scherzer, if they get him, I think they'll easily win it.
Yeah.
And then San Francisco and San Diego would be a more interesting wild card game.
Yeah.
Especially in the Bay. So I also think the Mets. You look at their home record, 32-17. They're great at Citi Field because it is such a pitcher's ballpark, and that's what they have is pitching. That's their strength. I mean, the offense is so good on paper, but it just has not played well in the field. That's why I think, like you said, if they get a Chris Bryant, that they're gonna be up with those teams. I think they're a very postseason feel because they can pitch. I'd like to see a little bit of upgrading to the bullpen. I think it's a little sketchy. You got guys like May, who's really hit or miss. Miguel Castro is not good. Familia, he's still there. He's not that great.
Yeah.
Diaz, I mean, you need some help there because the pitching can't go, 7 or 8 innings unless you're DeGrom, and I don't think they're really pushing Walker that far either.
Yeah.
And they got Carrasco back, so I think they're going to be a really good team. But their away record's terrible. They can't play on the road.
And Syndergaard. I haven't really heard too much news on him of recent, but I don't know if he's coming back. But he's supposed to technically. But
yeah, he was like on rehab, and then he got hurt again, and he's shut down for 6 weeks. So I don't know if he'll even come back. But it seems like he's been missing in action. But and then Milwaukee, I think, is such a real contender. We talked about that in the first video. And Cincinnati, I mean, I think these 5 teams right here, I think is what you're going to get this October, unless Philadelphia makes a huge splash in the trade market. I don't really see it. I
don't see it either, but they do have Dombrowski. So
who's willing to do that?
Who is willing to ruin his whole farm system to put, veterans on your team? Like, as a Red Sox fan, we're grateful for him, but we also kind of hate him a little bit. Like, kind of ruined us for a couple of years, but that's okay.
And they just still seem to underperform though, the Phillies, every single year. And St. Louis, I think they're out of it now. Cubs are selling, obviously.
Yeah.
But this is what you're gonna get. I think that's completely fine. I like this a lot. So.
Yeah, and also I just looked it up. The Mets manager thinks September 1st is the target date for Syndergaard now.
Okay.
And that's recent. That was July 4th. Well, that was a couple weeks ago, but July 4th. That was after his setback. So
there you go. Give him a month to get right. Give him 4 innings to start, something like that.
And that might be their bullpen. Like it could be like,
Well, they got Rich Hill too. I forgot they got him, and he's okay. So
they have pitching depth. It's just, they need the relief pitching depth now to get them going.
So I think maybe they're a sleeper for Kimbrel. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
Or just maybe like Tepera,
Tepera.
Yeah, Tepera. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be cheaper for sure. But
if I were to take a guess, looking at it right now, for the most complete teams and non-bias aside, obviously I want to pick Boston, but I think technically the most complete team is Houston because they have the offense, but I just trust their pitching a little bit more right now because Red Sox still have a question mark with can Tanner Houck be consistent and give him the good second half and for the future, obviously, but can he come up and, produce for them? And can Chris Sale come back and either give you good long relief help or, a 6th starter? Well, obviously we know his talent. It's just seeing how it all translates back to after Tommy John. I would have picked the White Sox, but I mean, after, Giolito and Lance Lynn, it's kind of a question mark. And then in the bullpen,
Rodon's good too.
Rodon. Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
So yeah, they actually, you know what?
They have a good team.
I always say this to myself, like, the pitching rotation after 3 guys isn't great, but in the postseason, I mean, with days off and stuff like that,
it's all you need.
It's all you need.
Yeah.
And then you can always push those extra starters into the bullpen, which those starters turn out to be better in the bullpen. Chicago's definitely got probably the most polarizing offense, though. So these top 3 teams are all very close because, I mean, they all have their 1-2 weaknesses, but their strengths outweigh a lot. And then, Tampa was just in the World Series last year, but you got to take that with a grain of salt with the shortened season. And see how that goes. I mean, I think the Yankees, even if they upgrade, I don't think they're really a postseason threat due to a lot of injuries. I want to say the talent, it's just more that they can't stay healthy. And then if you look at the
perform too, so I mean,
yeah, true. Happens. And I think COVID's kind of ruined a lot for the Yankees. Like,
yeah, they got screwed like out of the gate.
A lot of guys missed time. Yeah. And then National League, I think, like, San Francisco's legit, but I would still take the Dodgers of San Diego. I think, like, my mind and my heart will not allow me to pick the Giants to be better than the Dodgers San Diego, maybe record-wise, but I'm still going with, like in game 1 of the postseason, are you picking Walker Buehler or Clayton Kershaw over Gausman? Even Gausman might have, more National League Cy Young votes. I'm still picking, Kershaw or Buehler to get that win.
Yeah.
And then Milwaukee, same thing. Milwaukee might be the more complete team now, looking at it because of the Escobar edition, and it's just going to be very, I don't even know.
And to hit on the Yankees again, I forgot to say this about when I was talking about them, but I believe they have blown probably 5 games where they've been leading by like 4 runs in the 9th inning. Those 5 games are really going to matter at the end of the season. So I think that's going to be a wake-up call to Boone, and that's going to be a fire.
There was a lot of Chapman, too. Chapman had a really bad, and he still got the yips right now, kind of, but he had a bad, like, 2-3 weeks in a row. Every time he came in, it was a lot of walks, a lot of wild pitches.
Yeah, the second he walks somebody, he gets so flustered. And he gets so frustrated. He has like a mental breakdown, and then he just loses. Yeah. He like smiles off them. Yeah, but it's gonna matter. I think they're gonna fire Boone if they don't make the postseason too. Well, I think regardless, they're gonna fire him.
Yeah, but we're definitely gonna bring back. Obviously, Wyatt and I are gonna be back for more baseball stuff at the end of the year. If anything major happens over the next 2 days, we'll try and make another video. Yeah. If there's like a big bomb, we talked about Scherzer, we kind of hit on that, but if there's like a big one that nobody expected, then we'll come back and make another one. But if not, we'll probably chill on baseball for a little bit, kind of see how the season plays out. Definitely make a playoff prediction one, but we'll get more people on for that. But yeah, I think that's really it. Anything you want to add on to, Wyatt?
I think I'm all set. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Can't wait to we'll let it begin for sure. End of the year, postseason too.
Sounds
before it.
Good. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's really it for this little trio of baseball. And then sorry to the people that didn't do we didn't do an NBA draft one. That'll be tomorrow night technically from where we're recording, but who knows with that. That's a totally different topic, but we'll see everybody in whatever video comes out next. Goodbye, everyone.
Take care, guys.